When you try to improve yourself spiritually, you quietly whisper to your soul, "You are not enough as you are." This is why seeking is exhausting. You are running from your own perfection while chasing an imaginary one. Think about it. Most spiritual practices begin with the subtle assumption that something is wrong with you. You meditate to fix your mind. You pray to fix your heart. You chant to fix your energy. You read books to fix your ignorance. But what if nothing is broken? What if the entire spiritual journey, as many people imagine it, is built upon an insult to your own being? I often meet seekers who say, "I'm working on myself." And I always wonder, who is this self they're working on? The flawed self? The unfinished self? The self that must be hammered and polished like a piece of metal? You see, spiritual practices are beautiful when they are expressions of joy. But when they become self-improvement projects, they turn into subtle forms of self-rejection. You begin treating yourself as a problem that must be solved, rather than a mystery that is already whole. You become the carpenter and the wood, endlessly sanding the same piece, hoping one day it will shine. But here's the twist. You will never approve of yourself through effort. Because approval born from effort is fragile. It's the ego asking for another gold star, another badge of worth. And so the seeker remains a seeker. Not because truth is hidden, but because searching becomes a habit, a comfort, a role. You begin to fear what would happen if the search ended, because then the seeker, the identity you've built, would vanish. My friend, the flaw of seeking is not that you seek too much, but that by seeking you create the very separation you are trying to heal. You place the sacred above you, ahead of you, beyond you, never realizing it has always been beneath your feet, behind your breath, within your simplest moments. So the question is not, how do I find enlightenment? The real question is, what makes me believe I lost it in the first place? And that is where the truth begins to reveal itself. There is a peculiar moment in a seeker's journey that feels almost triumphant. It happens not in a temple nor during meditation, but in the quiet flicker between turning a page and nodding one's head in understanding. You stumble upon a beautiful idea, perhaps non-duality, perhaps the self is an illusion, perhaps all is one, and something inside you lights up. You think, I understand, I see it, and for a brief instant, the mind feels victorious, as if it has finally cracked the code of existence. But let me tell you a secret that many spiritual enthusiasts never discover. Understanding a thing does not mean experiencing it. You can memorize the entire map of the Himalayas, down to its smallest ridge and river, but your feet have still never touched the mountain. And so the seeker becomes intoxicated with concepts, collecting them like rare coins. They know the terminology, the doctrines, the techniques. They can quote sages, they can debate philosophy. Their mind becomes a library filled with exquisite knowledge, yet their heart remains untouched. Why? Because the mind is reading about liberation while the ego is quietly using the knowledge to build another identity. This identity is far more subtle than the worldly one. It doesn't boast about wealth or achievements. It boasts about understanding, about having the right view, about being beyond illusions, at least conceptually. But here is where the trap snaps shut. The moment you believe, I understand the truth, you create a new version of yourself, the one who understands. And this persona, this mental image, becomes a polished barrier between you and direct experience. It is like mistaking the menu for the meal, then wondering why your hunger remains. You see, truth, real truth, is not something you understand the way you understand mathematics or history. It is something that happens to you when the mind, for just a heartbeat, stops trying to catch it. This is why I say, the one who tries to awaken is the one who cannot awaken. Because awakening is not a project, not a strategy, not something you can grab with effort. It is a disappearance, the disappearance of the very one who is trying. Imagine a candle trying to illuminate itself, or an eye trying to see itself without a mirror, or a wave trying to reach the ocean. All impossible because the seeker is the barrier. This is why many people feel a strange gap between what they know and what they live. They say, I understand non-duality, but I don't feel it. I know the ego isn't real, but it still controls me. I've read everything